There is a lot of worry about the Galaxy Note 10. Insiders who are close to the project have said that this is going to be a disappointment, that this is going to be an ugly phone. But actually, there's a lot of changes behind the scenes that still make this a really exciting prospect. So, welcome to 8 reasons to be excited about the Note 10 Pro, as well as 4 that might have you banging your head against a wall. So, number 8. The S Pen should be getting a new trick. Ice Universe sent a tweet out detailing an S Pen remote control app, which could mean a number of different things, but what's looking most likely is that you'll be able to use this pen as an air mouse. When using Samsung's DeX, which is their mobile desktop feature, the S Pen could effectively let you interact with it, kind of like a Nintendo Wii controller. And this upgrade would also tie in pretty nicely with the newly trademarked DeX Live feature, which sounds a lot like Samsung is pretty soon about to make DeX 100% wireless. Number 7. After a pretty long time of teasing a faster charging rate, the leaker Ice Universe finally dropped this. It's a portrait of the painter Leonardo da Vinci, which also happens to be the codename of this phone. There's a charging symbol to the right, and written in binary code below is a number that translates to 45. So it's pretty unambiguously claiming that straight out the box, the Note 10 Pro is going to charge with 3 times the power of past Samsung flagships. Colors. The phone is apparently coming in 5 colors. You've got black, white, and silver, but then, more interestingly, a red and a pink. It actually develops further though, because our friend Ice Universe has pointed to a blue and silver gradient option. So the way I see this panning out is that the silver phone actually has a blue to silver transition, and because this is the most unique finish, it'll probably be the hero device and the one that gets plastered across all the promotional material. Alright, so the Note 10 Pro, from the front at least, is going to be symmetrical. So we should be seeing that punch hole shifted from the side of the phone to the center, which in itself I'm not a massive fan of, but what is a relief is that the cutout itself will be far smaller than on the S10 Plus, to the point where you'd be forgetting it's there in a lot of day-to-day scenarios. This phone is also going to be the largest mainstream flagship phone Samsung has ever made, with somewhere between 6.7 and 6.75 inches of display. And yeah, these phones are getting bigger every single year, but I don't think it'll be a problem. I've actually been using the S10 5G as my main phone for over a month now, and this is dimension-wise pretty close to what the Note 10 Pro is expected to be. It's not bad, it's no less manageable than the standard S10 Plus, and the combination of the size and the brightness of this panel means that almost anyone that looks at it goes, wow. We've also had a leak of the camera module, which looks like it contains the same 4 cameras we've got on the S10 5G. So that's a main 12 megapixel, a 2x telephoto lens, an ultrawide, and a time of flight. This layout that Phone Arena has put together gives you an idea of the new positioning, but the way it's been drawn here kind of makes it look like a Huawei phone. I reckon the Samsung camera will end up having a squarer aesthetic. Now, I would say this time of flight camera doesn't right now have any kind of must-have capability, but the combination of the fact that Samsung is really pushing it on a lot of their phones, and the fact that the Note 10 is codenamed after a painter, implies that it's possible they're going to start doing something creative with it. It would allow you to take portrait mode video, but as well as that, you could start adding effects like turning everything but your foreground into monochrome. It also looks like Samsung toyed with the idea of putting in a higher magnification telephoto camera, but then they ditched it because it would make the phone thicker for a feature that, let's face it, is cool but pretty niche. Then there's the 5G aspect. Samsung should actually be releasing 4 phones, a standard smaller Note 10 and then the Pro model, with both coming in their own 5G variants. And to be honest, I completely get that there is a massive spectrum for how much people care about this. If you live in a built-up area in the UK or the US, this could be a game-changing feature. 5G is live in some places and people are posting some unreal speeds, like this one here, on a moving train. And then you've got others living in areas where 5G isn't even a consideration. So moving on. The Note 10 Pro will apparently use its larger body, the omission of a headphone jack, and the use of compact RAM to fit a 4500 mAh battery inside. That's not insanely large, but it is very substantial, and you gotta remember that with these Note phones, Samsung's also gotta fit the S Pen in. To give you an idea of what this would mean, I've done a battery comparison between the S10 Plus and the Huawei P30 Pro, and for continuous screen on time, the S10 Plus was slightly behind with 7 hour 5 minutes versus 7 hour 22. This battery boost would be at least enough to put the Note 10 Pro on par with the P30 Pro. It's also possible, and I'm just throwing this in as a maybe right now, that the Note 10 Pro will also use super fast UFS 3 storage, which would make sense seeing as they've just used it in their recent Galaxy Fold phone. Anyways, there's a bit of skepticism. There's a few things in the air that are kind of hampering people's excitement for this device. There's this camera arrangement, which people are calling not just unoriginal but also ugly. And there have been a couple of insiders who are saying that the phone will actually be much worse looking than any of the current renders show. There's also the fact that shifting the cameras to the side means that you're actually affecting the balance of the phone, and there's a good chance the phone will wobble if on a flat surface. It's looking likely that Samsung's gonna drop the headphone jack, and I could see this happening because it kind of lines up with how Samsung has been working recently. You might have noticed that most of Samsung's more exciting, more experimental features are actually introduced on mid-range phones. We had the quad-camera Galaxy A9 last year, and the rotating camera A80 earlier this year. Samsung's strategy is to use these mid-range phones, these less important devices, to test these features before they eventually introduce them on their more important flagships. And it looks like the lack of a headphone jack is just the latest thing they've been testing, with the A80 amongst other devices not having it. You might have also noticed that whilst it's really cool that we've got this tiny hole punch on the front of the phone, it's looking like it'll only house a single lens front-facing camera. So it's looking very possible that the selfie portrait mode is not going to be as good as on the S10 Plus. And finally, pricing. Each year when Samsung releases their Note phones, they raise the bar for their flagship phone prices, and then that price kind of sticks for the S series next year. So whilst the S10 Plus kept the price of the Note 9 last year at $999, you can probably expect the Note 10 Pro to start at $1,099, and that's not even the 5G version. If you enjoyed this video, a sub would be massively appreciated. My name is Aaron, this is Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'll catch you in the next one.